Hey, hey, good morning, Grievers. School's back. Traffic's bad. So I thought I'd go live because I'm going to be crawling for the next 40 minutes of my life. But hey, look at this day. We're on causeway number 1, and the sky and the sea are bright blue and beautiful. Hey, Morgan, how are you today? Just listening to a podcast I haven't listened to for a long time, and I don't like it anymore. But big news for you guys coming out of the US of A. Bit of a verdict handed down this morning that hopefully will stop any rioting. Hey, Crystal, you're just wrapping up your workday. Nice. I'm trying to start mine, but school holidays are over, and here we are again in crawly traffic. Hey, Lady Pegasus. Good morning, gorgeous. You finally got alive. Hey, if you want to listen to a live dripping in sarcasm, um, have a listen to the one I did yesterday. You'd only need to listen to 5 minutes to get the point. You don't think it'll stop rioting? Such an unfamiliar concept to me, and to people in other parts of the world, that there are riots after jury verdicts are handed down, or just verdicts are handed down. Um, don't get me wrong, like Rodney King fully understood it. But yeah, it's an unfamiliar concept. So what would cause riots with 3 guilty verdicts? Are people going to riot because they think the police officer has been wronged? Oh, it was fun, Lady Pegasus, because yesterday morning, lovely Shanna messaged me to say, "Oh, there's a bit of chit chat happening in a live that your newstubers live." So I presented my case to prove that I was newstubers live. Someone in the chat was like, "Does Lady Pegasus know that your newstubers live?" And I was like, "No." We got called in locally to support the police through the volunteer thing I do. Celebratory riots. Oh, that's a bit of an unusual combination of words. Celebratory riots. Hmm. Can't we just have a party without smashing things up? Hey, Trixie Tension, how are you doing? Now, a few of my subscribers might discover that they've now got a bit of bling uh, of the blue variety. Um, I can't see who my mods are when I'm on StreamYard, but I made a few people mods last night. Oh, it was hilarious, Lady Pegasus, even to the point that Shanna was in the chat saying she's one of my best friends. She's not NewsTubers Live, and they were still saying, yes, she is. Not many. It wasn't completely serious. Like, no, I believe you, Morgan. I just think it's kind of, you know, hey, I've been at parties that have got out of hand, but I don't know if you'd call them a riot, you know. So yeah, there's a few members that might not members. What's the word? Hey, Mojo Jojo. Um, that might have a bit of a blue thing next to their name now. But peeps like Lady Pegasus and Morgan, who have been mods for me for a long time, know that there's really only a couple of rules around my channel. I just think it might get to the point like yesterday, because of my confession that I am NewsTubers Live. You know, there were suddenly 30 people, and I was like, I might actually have to start moderating things a bit. Clever, hello, gorgeous. It's so nice to see you again. Thank you for your lovely comment too. Where'd you go? You just vanished from my world for a long time. I missed you. Oh, actually, Clever, it's kind of interesting that you've popped in because this very morning, or she was last night, I've got a scammer. I'm going to do some scam baiting. I kind of want to do it on my Smooth Criminal podcast channel because that is crime. But if I can get this dude chatting today during my lunch break, I might see if I can go live tonight with some scam baiting, which will be massive if I do that because I've got a friend on the new series of MasterChef and also the daughter of some other friends of mine on the new series of MasterChef. And I possibly might be sacrificing MasterChef to do scam baiting. That's how serious I am. Oh, your dad was very sick. Is he okay, Claire Bear? And now I've asked that question. It's like, oh, Claire Bear. Your dad and the love you have for him, like no other that I've seen for a long time. Bit of roadwork. These roadworks are going to make life amazing. I don't understand why people complain about roadworks. Roadworks happen to improve roads. It employs people. Tori, have you eaten baby deer? Oh, I know. Claire Bear's talking like the scammers do. I wonder if this one's food obsessed. This one is a new scam too, and it's fucking hilarious. It's hilarious. And not only that, but it's a fucker who has hacked into my cousin's wife's account. Well, no, created a duplicate of her account. Sorry. It does say it's a new Facebook account. Created a duplicate and messaging all of her friends list. Yeah, Remy, no, I'm not NewsTubers Live, but yesterday, for the fuck of it, I argued all the evidence pointing that it would be me and how ridiculous it was. You know, just minor details like me being up on her panel with her, her chatting to me when I'm driving on a highway doing 110 kilometres an hour. Somehow I'm logged into YouTube and chatting to myself. I mean, you guys who follow me know that I'm blind as a bat and I can barely read chat when I'm driving. So, yeah. Also, the fact that NewsTubers Live put up a clip video from my channel because I'm, you know, so full of myself that I self-promote on other channels. Yeah, lots of love, Claire Bear. Hey, Stop Animal Cruelty, you might have a little bit of bling, baby. Speaking of mods, so the only rules I have, and I don't at this point think we definitely will never have a Discord, but I don't think we need all mods come together joint. But the only rules that I have is please don't time out or block funny trolls ever. I love them. But any hate speech, racism, that sort of shit, just boot them, block them, don't care about them. But the other rule I've got is no bitching about other YouTubers in my chat or about me or about anyone that I ever have up on my panel, and they are all timeouts. I've got a little community, but it's come from lots of different places because I travel all over YouTube, and a lot of people that even come in are actual real life friends of mine as well. So there's people from lots of different communities, and they may not necessarily be buddies out in the YouTube world. But if they come to my chat and they're all being polite and getting on, just leave them, please. Um, I kind of, I kind of like that. I've had some alleged sworn enemies in my chat at the same time. I think it's a bit of a credit to you guys that we offer a happy chat where everyone's welcome. It was well overdue, Stop Animal Cruelty. I just thought I did a live a couple of weeks ago and nearly everyone had a wrench. And I was like, this is an off putting thing because I've been into lives before on channels where nearly everyone's been a moderator and I haven't liked it. So I was just trying to dilute. So getting a few more subs has meant, you can't say how something about shitty my view is. I miss that, Morgan. We have had some of the best trolls that I've ever seen on YouTube, without a doubt. Um, two dicks touching together, without a doubt, one of the greatest trolls on YouTube of all time. And two dicks touching together became, a bit of a regular for a little while after that. So, yeah. But yeah, it's really just block anyone who's just a blatant asshole and says something that's racist or sexist or just cunty. Just block them. I don't need to be told what they've done or said either because I don't care, so just block them. I miss Geraldine too, Claire Bear. I'd have to message her and see what she's up to. Um, yeah, so any hate speech, and just anyone that's just an absolute asshole, just block them. Don't care about them. But if anyone is, bitching about another YouTuber or fighting with another YouTuber in my chat or having a go at me or anyone that I ever have on my panels, just time them out. But please don't time out people just because you don't like them. Because that's the other thing I can't stand on YouTube, where moderators start fighting with people they don't like and then blocking them and stuff. Like, that's what you do on your own channel. I touched on George Floyd very briefly because I obviously woke up to that news. Well, no, it happened while I was eating breakfast, actually, the verdict. Um, Look, I know the case, obviously. I haven't followed it super closely, and the charges are not charges that I'm necessarily familiar with here. Like, we don't have some of the charges, but it sounded like a pretty positive outcome, except for him, and rightly so. I just hope that I'll try to reach out in a little while. It's the speedy part of my drive at the moment. I think Amy's Justice League just popped in. Hi to anyone arriving. This is the part of my drive where I can't reach out very much. So but yeah, I mean, with the George Floyd verdict, I mean, you can't argue it really. Sort of sounded like it was They were the appropriate charges and verdicts for what happened. But I guess there'll be appeals. Is that likely, do you think? I'm more interested in what you guys have to say about it, to be honest. All I can say is I'm glad it wasn't not guilty. Yeah, don't forget to use big letters and capital letters. And it's not yelling in my chat when I'm driving. It's the only way I can read comments. Also, it's much easier for me to read short comments or shorter comments. Um, the paragraphs are fine, but if the chat is flying, because I'm on StreamYard on a website, not an app, you only get a couple of comments visible at a time, and sometimes they fly off the screen in a millisecond. I do sometimes play back my lives to read chat. I mute myself because I can't stand my voice. Um, I have to say, I was bummed that I mean, obviously he had to wear a mask, but it's very different hearing a verdict being handed down when they've got a mask on and you can only look at their eyes. Like, you know, it's usually the mouth that gives away how they feel about a verdict. Oh, I just saw the comment about the writing. So, do you think the verdict was motivated more by what would happen if they went a certain way? Because that would be really, really fucked up if that was. Um, yeah, the jury pool was unbelievable. And look, I don't know the makeup of where the trial was heard, but I did hear quite a few commentators saying that they weren't anticipating a really diverse jury. Like, is it a predominantly white area or? But also the ages. I mean, the youngest juror was 20. Holy shit! Like, hey, Miss OMG, you think fear definitely was a major player? Well, that's an interesting perspective. I guess, and look, you could be right. I'm not for a second suggesting that's not, but it kind of flies in the whole face of the judicial system. You know what I mean? Like, to me, it sounded like the verdicts were definitely appropriate for what he was charged with and what happened. But I look at things too from a bit of a purist legal perspective because we just don't have the same sort of reactions to verdicts where I live. It just doesn't happen, that people don't riot here when a verdict is handed down. And again, don't get me wrong, there are certain cases that have happened in the USA where I think the rioting and reaction was not over the top, such as Rodney King. I think that was fully understandable. But here, if a verdict's handed down and, you know, I'm trying to even think of an Australian case where people were, like, say, Lindy Chamberlain, and she ultimately had all of her, she was basically given a pardon. But, they just went through the appeal process. It took fucking forever, but there weren't protests in the street when she was found guilty. Um, so it's an interesting thing to sort of witness from other parts of the world. And yet, this case obviously travelled around the world and it was being discussed everywhere. I mean, there were Black Lives Matter protests happening in Australia after it. And presumably other countries had similar reactions. But yeah, it's interesting to especially hear the Americans in chat and how you feel about it. And but yeah, if fear is part of handing down a verdict, that sort of flies in the whole face of the judicial system. But of course, I imagine it would. Did you guys think? Here's another question for you. Did you guys think the verdicts were handed down too quickly? Like, is 10 hours of deliberation by a jury considered short for you guys? Because juries do deliberate throughout the trial and discuss all the evidence as it goes along and question things as it goes along. It's not like they don't discuss anything till they're sent out to deliberate on the verdict. I don't think UK police would get away with any of this kind of stuff. No, I can't see Aussie cops getting away with stuff like that. And God, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of police corruption in Australia for sure. But you know, a lot of the times, I mean, well, it's a different. Our cops are very different. I mean, even with people getting swatted on YouTube, if you rang the cops in Australia from YouTube to try and have someone swatted, they'd probably tell you to piss off and hang up on you. Oh, you guys are chatting and I'm missing comments. So, I mean, it was clear what happened. The actual murder of George Floyd. That's why the rioting factor came in. I think someone said that they thought the verdict was really slow and someone else thought it was very fast. Do you think the jury should have been sequestered for the entire trial? They usually are here, so interesting question. They weren't. I didn't even know that. Yeah, juries are sequestered here, so I think in this day and age with social media and everything else, sequestering juries is a pretty smart thing to do. Um, they're not always sequestered here, but um, you know, obviously when they need to consider their verdicts, they are. But there are trials where they are sequestered, and I didn't know the jury in the Floyd trial. Like I said, I mean, I know the case, I know what happened, but I haven't been following the actual trial. But I was pretty fascinated by the makeup of the jury and the fact the youngest juror is 20. Like, can you imagine, you know, like adults that are in their 60s freak the fuck out when they get put on a jury? It's a huge responsibility. I would have been bloody hopeless on a jury when I was 20. All I cared about was going out drinking and dancing and kissing boys, you know? Wasn't a lot of substance to me as a 20-year-old. I mean, I was studying at university, but I was in my first year of law when I was 20. I was a pretty naive little twit that, you know, I travelled around the world already, but not all over the world, but I've been overseas. But, you know, in terms of life experience and all that, I was pretty naive. I can't read while I'm driving over the bridge, by the way. So if anyone is commenting at the moment, I apologise. I can't read while I'm tootling over this 5-lane bridge without any barriers and stuff. It's not the time to be reading the chats. But on the jury sequestering issue, I just think this in this day and age with mobile phones and social media and everything else, I think, you've got to try to keep juries away from any sort of influence. I mean, there was a case that happened in Australia a couple of years ago. The jury weren't sequestered, and one of the jurors was tweeting stuff, and the whole case nearly went out the window. And the guy that was ultimately convicted could have walked free because of a juror mucking around with their phone. So yeah, it's unfortunately some people just can't leave their phone alone. But jurors tweeting, and the tweets were about the trial, I might add. They weren't, phew, another day in court, glad to be home eating macaroni cheese. They were tweeting about the trial and making it fairly obvious they were part of the jury as well. So, yeah, if that guy had been, um, if it had been a mistrial and he'd walked free, it would have been terrible. He murdered his wife and was an absolute piece of shit. So, yeah, when a little juror's thinking they're a little bit more important than anything else and want everyone to know what they're up to and tweeting about it, and potentially letting a wife murderer walk free, that's pretty scary shit. No, that's a good point too, Lady Pegasus. We don't have televised court at all. And, I mean, I hate to bring up Chris Watts again, but that's one of the reasons so many people were gripped around the world by it outside of America, because the case itself was so horrific. Then we were all given the discovery, which I'd never seen anything like that happen in my life. And I mean, unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but after he pleaded guilty, it didn't mean we were able to watch a trial. But if that had gone to trial, I would have watched every second of it. That's why so many true crime buffs outside of the US of A know a lot about certain US cases, because it's all out there for us all to watch. And true crime isn't like a proprietary thing. If you love true crime, you follow cases that have happened all over the world. But when you get to actually watch trials and live verdicts and all that sort of stuff, it's pretty exciting if you live in a place where you don't get to see any of that. The courts here are very cloistered in that regard. Like, you can, as a member of public, you can go and sit in a court and watch a trial, but it ain't being televised. The best that we do is have media outside the court once a verdict's been handed down. And if the person's been acquitted, there's obviously a footpath interview with them. And if they've been found guilty, there's usually interviews with the family who are delighted with the outcome. That's pretty much the extent of what we get here. Lady Pegasus, what case is that? Damn it, this went off the screen. That's what I'm saying. Like, the chat moves pretty fast when I'm driving. I'm actually happy I got into town pretty much around the usual time. So the return to the school holiday ending yesterday and school traffic back again hasn't actually been too traumatic this morning. Maybe everyone slept in. You have to message me that case, Lady Pegasus, because I'm not sure. I can't recall what one you're talking about, but I'm also only getting bits of chat. Hey, Emily, you've got a bit of bling, darling. It happened in Queensland yesterday. Oh shit. Okay. I'll have a look at the news. I worked all day and then raced home to watch my friend on MasterChef. Didn't get any news. You do, Emily. You've got bling a ding ding. I don't have like a separate mod bubble or anything like that for you guys because the only things, and you know, you've been in my channel a long time, but the only things you guys have to do is block anyone who comes into chat who just says anything that's blatantly hate speech, racist, sexist. That's it. Like, it's got to be blatant. If someone comes in and they say something that might be funny, but you don't find it funny, leave it and we'll talk about it. Because there are trolls that come in that can be quite hilarious. But if it's not your sense of humour and they're not breaking any other sort of rules of the channel, just leave them and we'll see what happens with them. But if someone just comes in, they just say something that's outright horrible, they get blocked. Give the funny trolls a chance to warm up their one-liners. I don't want anyone timed out unless they are bitching about another YouTube creator, fighting with somebody in chat about a YouTube creator, or having a go at me or someone on my panel. That's it. But if you don't like them and you pick a fight with them and you're a moderator, you don't get to time them out. If you pick a fight, you'll lose your bling. I think I'll get my community page in about a week. Now that I'm over 1,000 subscribers, woohoo! And I'll put the guidelines on there, but it's pretty basic. Just block anyone who's an asshole. But I've got people from so many different communities in our community, and I want us all to just hang out together and have a nice time. I like funny troll. 27, oh my God. And I saw a comment you made that there were little children in the house at the time. Oh my God, that is hideous. I'll definitely have a look into that. God, it's reminding me of Hannah Clark and her beautiful children who all died. But yeah, if someone you don't know comes in and they say something that might be an attempt at a joke, you don't need to time them out. Just give them a chance. If they're just being wankers, that's not grounds to block them. But if they're being mean, smite them hard. No, just time them out. No, block the meanie. Sorry. Why am I doing this while I'm driving? My brain's in work mode. I've got to write a pretty stern letter to an insurance company this morning on behalf of my client. Yeah, it sounds horrible, Lady Pegasus, but I'll have a look into it. I kind of want to start doing some stuff on my Smooth Criminal podcast channel. I'm still umming and ahhing about whether or not to do more episodes of it. I've got so much research that I did last year. I've got enough material to do at least another 100 episodes, maybe more, probably about 132, I think, from memory. So that's like over 2 years worth of episodes still that I've already not written, but I've already researched. So I do miss doing it. It was a bit of fun. I just need to schedule in a day to just sit down and record it, get back into the swing of it. But sorry, Morgan. Like I said, my brain's in two different places. I shouldn't be focusing on both because I just end up being repetitive and painful. There's lots of love here. You know that. Stop animal cruelty. Oh, thanks, Morgan, for dropping the link. You've done well. I noticed my subs have moved over 223 or whatever it was for like the last 12 months. So thank you. I think we've got like 240 now. You're an awesome girl, Morgan. But yes, I'm sort of umming and ahhing about whether I reignite the podcast or whether I start actually covering some cases. I don't know. I mean, Smooth Criminal Podcast is sort of meant to be funny cases rather than, doing it seriously. There's enough true crime creators that are doing the really horrible cases. But, if someone in Australia gets caught stealing a dildo from an adult shop, that's the sort of stuff I want to cover. You can do links from your phone, you clever girl. Thanks, Lady Pegasus. It's very exciting. Very, very, very exciting. And I've qualified to get monetized. Um, and I'm a bit, looks like we're going up to the next level, guys. I'm a bit unsure about whether I want to or not, but I've put in the initial application because it's a really slow process. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I was chatting to another YouTube buddy about it last night about whether or not to apply, and her advice was it takes a long time, so why not apply and then you can decide later. So that's what I'm going to do. Dark in here. If I can work out a way to use it for good, not evil, I'll do it. But it's just one of those things that you sort of, I don't know, I mean, I've qualified it because I've put in the work, I've got the views and the hours and the subs and everything else. But I've seen what's happened to other creators when they've done it. Just set it up and use it if you don't want to. You're telling them it was NewsTubers podcast. Oh, that was so funny. Oh, and did you watch NewsTubers' last video responding to Makeup Mobster's distress at being, essentially the subject of a fart joke? But there was a bit in there where Makeup Mobster's reading out comments under NewsTubers' video, the original fart one. And Makeup Mobster actually reads mine out. And mine was basically the song from Frozen because NewsTubers had made her the chick from Frozen. But my version was Let It Rip, Let It Rip. And it was the first four lines of the chorus, the Let It Go chorus. But if Makeup Mobster had sung it, she would have actually appreciated the humour because it's funnier if you sing it. Let it rip, let it rip. But she didn't. She didn't like my comment. She's like, look at all these fuckwits on here. Look at all these idiots in their comments. And then see traces of nuts. Let it rip, let it whatever. It's like if you'd sung that, you would have loved it. Can you still get AdSense when people watch the replay if you're not monetized? Having AdSense is part of being monetized. That is part of it. I love Meekster. G'day, Groover. I love all these new people that are coming in. It's wicked. We've got some fresh blood for our chilled out little laid back community. I think I'm going to be I know some people have discovered me now, but I think my channel is going to be way too snoozy for a lot of people. Thanks, Trixie. So, yeah, AdSense is part of monetization. It's all kind of rolled in together. So you get like your super chat button, and you get your AdSense. And I don't even know about the membership thing, but I don't really want to do that. Because I mean, the money's not the. Is it cold as fuck there too? Punished at it is at 6 degrees. We're getting to 14, but the sun's out today. So I mean, look at that blue sky reflecting on the window. So it won't be unbearably bad today. Whereas yesterday it was like Hobart's beautiful if it gets down. Like say the maximum today was only 6 degrees, but the sun's out. It's still a lovely day. It's just when we don't have any sun, it can be a bit rough. Like you can sit it. The sun's so strong here that you could be sitting at Salamanca Market on, eating breakfast in a t-shirt, and there can be snow up on the mountain in winter. The traces of Nuts House. Yeah, welcome to the Nut House. Oh, you've got frost. I didn't have any frost. I don't get a lot of frost though because I'm on the beach. But that doesn't mean we don't get it. But it's not that. It's not that full on the frost. 15 degrees here, cold and sunny. Is that your maximum today, or is that the temperature at the moment? Because, yeah, we're only going to get to 14, but yesterday we only got to 11. Yesterday was really, really cold. I got home last night and I had to have a shower just to warm up while the house was warming up. And I put the heater on, like the heating, had it set on 14 overnight, and it definitely got colder. I think it went down to 3 degrees last night. So my house was actually lovely when I got up. But, yeah, welcome to any newbies to my channel, and sorry if I missed anyone who came and went while I was driving. I wasn't planning on going live. I just got stuck in school traffic. The maximum's 18. That's not too bad. You've got frost forecast in Michigan. When are you guys getting spring and summer? Yeah, you don't get it either because you're near the Irish Sea. Nice. Nice. There are some advantages of being close to the coast. We get fog because I live on a hill and there's a valley below me, and even though we're on a beach, because of the hill and the valley, we definitely get fog. It snows at sea level where I live, well, rarely, but in Hobart, in this city, maybe every 4 or 5 years we get to snow to sea level. But there are actually videos on my channel of it snowing at my house last year. And even there was even snow on the beach, but it wasn't cold enough for it to settle. Sounds like you live in Tassie, Emily. That's what Tassie's like. You haven't had rain for weeks. Rained all night last night, so my tank is overflowing again. Hey, Grievous, I've got to go. We've got to go to the office. I hope that, I'll be watching on to see what the outcome of the George Floyd verdict is in the US of A. Yeah, lots of rain. Tassie's looking very green. Didn't even really get to that sort of yellowy sunburnt colour it gets in summer because we actually had a weirdly high amount of rain right before Christmas. So, yeah, guilty on 3 separate counts. They're not ones that we have here, but they all sound pretty legit and valid for what happened. I'm just still blown away that there was a 20-year-old juror. Would any of you guys have been great on a jury when you were 20? My God. Mind you, 20-year-olds these days are a bit more worldly, and they've got way more information at their fingertips. If we wanted to learn about stuff outside of even the city we grew up in. You'd have to research in a library. Yeah, all three counts, Emily. So I'll be watching with interest from afar for that one. Have a great day, everyone, or a lovely evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Sounds like nearly all of us need to try and stay warm and dry. Oh, Trixie, I'll just wrap up on the jury thing. So one thing that sucks about being a lawyer is you can never be on a jury. And I was a criminal defense lawyer, so I used to wonder all the time what the juries would get up to out in the jury room and the discussions and, who the dominant personalities were and all of that sort of stuff. And I was heartbroken that I could never be on a jury. When I stopped practicing law to go into stand-up comedy, I ended up in a breakfast radio role. And I finally got summons for jury duty, but because my job was so fucking high profile and people, well, it sounds wanky. It was high profile in southern Tassie in a city of 250,000 people, but I was recognisable. So every time I went into the jury room, I got challenged and I didn't get to be on a jury. Then I stopped doing breakfast radio and I went into real estate very briefly. Worst thing I ever did, but it was only for 18 months. But went into real estate and I got called up for jury duty again. And finally, like after going in every morning, my number got called out to go into a courtroom for a trial. And I knew the judge and one of the other lawyers, and I had to be excused. And then I went back to being a fucking lawyer, so I'm screwed. Yeah, real estate is worse than a lawyer. Well, it was for me, but I'll talk about that another day. Um, well, you're lucky, stop animal cruelty. But I really wanted to. I really wanted to be on a jury. And when I finally got the chance to be, my radio announcer's job precluded me because they were like, we can't have you on here because people know who you are. And then when I gave up that job and was doing real estate, I finally get called up. And I get called, like you sit in the jury like room, not the jury room off the court, but like the pool, where the jury pool is, and they start reading out numbers. And then if your number gets called out, you get taken off to that courtroom, right? But I'd sat there for weeks and weeks and my number never got read out. And when it finally did, I was like, yes. And then we go in and sit in the courtroom, and the very first thing they say is, does anyone in the jury pool know any of the people involved in the case, including the judge and the prosecutor and the defense attorney? And I had to stand up and say, oh, in fact, I sat there and the judge said I have to challenge one of the jurors because I used to play tennis with her dad. I was like, oh, fuck. And then one of the other lawyers turned around and I was like, yeah, no, I'm screwed. I just got up and walked out. So, yeah. And now I'll never get called for jury duty again unless it happens after I've retired, because that's my jury duty story. I will punish Dad. I will. I will. I am wary of Discord, and I'm also a bit busy at the moment, but I will definitely think about it. I really don't know why you want this old middle-aged Tasmanian chick in your Discord, but I'll pop in and say good day and suss it out. My laptop hates Discord, by the way. It crashes all the time. Doesn't, and it's a really good laptop. It just doesn't like Discord. Shit, I gotta go. I start work in 10 minutes. I love you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for hanging out. I hope that everyone's pleased with the outcome of the George Floyd trial and the verdict that was handed down. I look forward to seeing you out and about, and if I don't go live on this channel for a few days, just check out all my new stuff on my other channel, NewsTubers Live. See you all again very soon. Thanks for being groovy to each other too. Love you heaps. Bye, everyone.